If you're tuning in at the moment, we're discussing the sad breaking news. Peter Yarrow of the folk trio Peter, Paul, and Mary has passed away at the age of 86 years old. The cause of death was bladder cancer. Peter was diagnosed with 4 years ago. And we had the opportunity on the show to talk with Peter, and I'm going to share that with you in 1 second here. But post your comments. We want to hear from you, and let us know what your favorite music of the 60s or group, or what song touched you the most. Post it in the comments down below in our board or in the live feed. Video here, I want to share with you guys. A couple of years back, we did an interview with Peter, and it was pretty cool. But here is an interview, and Peter actually corrects me in this interview right here about folk music, which I opened that conversation up right there.
You referred to something in a way that's, has to be commented. You talked about folk rock. There was no folk rock at the time.
Yeah. At
the time that Peter, Paul, and Mary started, which was with the era of Joan Baez, Peter, Paul, Mary, Bob Dylan, Judy Collins, Richie Havens, etc. There was folk music, but there wasn't rock and roll. It existed, but it was of the sort that you would hear it with, Elvis Presley or something. It just, there was doo-wop music, and then there was rock and roll. And rock and roll was Bill Haley. It was, it didn't. The term folk rock emerged after folk music began to merge with rock and roll music. And what happened was that an interesting story. A lot of it had to do with the Beatles. Before the Beatles, folk music was really the dominant music on the charts. And it also was very much the heart center of America, in the sense that it reflected the enormously powerful movements that were taking place at the time. For instance, the civil rights movement. When Peter, Paul, and Mary sang at the March on Washington in 1963, where Martin Luther King delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech. And there we sang "Blowing in the Wind" and "If I Had a Hammer." And there were 250,000 people there. And it was an event that really resonated all the way till our present moment.
Did you get, I'm sorry to cut you off, but did you get anything from seeing that speech in person that everybody else who had to watch it on TV didn't get?
Being there with 250,000 people and singing to people. And when he was giving that speech, Mary took my hand in hers and she said, Peter, we are watching history being made. And we all knew it. And what happened there was that the people who left there, first of all, when we went there, we didn't know whether there was going to be violence or, but it turned out that it was absolutely just the personification of hope and determination and love and humanity. It was extraordinary. But the people had left there, and it really relates to what I really want to talk about, which is what's going on today, is we left there with a sense of determination that we were bound to these people with whom we were marching and to whom we were singing. We were bound in such a.
Well, right now, if you're tuning in, that's part of the interview with Peter Yarrow, who has passed away at the age of 86 years old. I just made a correction here. So this is live right now. Peter Yarrow, Peter, Paul, and Mary, dead at the age of 86. We're going to talk about, in a second, I'm going to show you the clip of Peter discussing the story behind the myth. What is Puff the Magic Dragon all about? He co-wrote the song. He sang the song. But if you're tuning in, Peter Paul and Mary passed away at the age of 86 years old. The cause was bladder cancer. He was diagnosed with that disease 4 years ago. Other songs that he had written and co-written and sang, The Great Mandela, Day Is Done. I know you guys over there, there's a bunch of songs that I'm not thinking at the moment. So correct me. Talk about it in the chat. Leaving on a Jet Plane, huge 60s hit song. On top of that, Peter was roommates with Bob Dylan, good friends with Bob Dylan, which is a picture of them later on with Stevie Wonder right there jamming with him. And but Peter had some drama in his life as well. In 1970, he was convicted and served 3 months in prison for basically inviting a minor, Barbara Winter, 14 years old at the time, to his hotel room in search of an autograph she was in search of. He answered the door naked and made her touch him until his dragon puffed something magical. Now, Peter was granted a presidential pardon by Jimmy Carter the day before Carter's became president. That ended in January 1981. In 2019, Peter planned performance at the Colorscape Arts Festival in New York State, which was canceled owing to resurface awareness of the conviction. Now, Peter did say and went on record, I do not seek to minimize or excuse what I have done, and I cannot express my apologies and sorrow for the pain and injury I have caused, he told the New York Times back then. In 2021, Barbara Winter said she was not informed of the pardon before reading about it in the press. It felt like you got sucker punched in the gut, she told the Washington Post at the time, which said the pardon was perhaps the only one in U.S. history wiping away a conviction for a sexual offense against a child, and noted it had gone unnoticed at the time, being granted hours before U.S. hostages in Iran were freed. So there's a little history right there. So there's some drama there, okay? Peter was born in 1938, May 31st. He grew up Providence, Rhode Island. And right now we are talking about, if he passed away today, January 7th, 2025, at the age of 86 years old. And if you're tuning in right now, we are discussing the life and the passing of Peter Yarrow, which was 80. That's the wrong post. Sorry about that. 86 years old. Let me delete the other one this way. We don't go back there because you guys will get me. Okay. Sometimes when you live, these things happen. But in the meantime, if you're tuning in, subscribe to the channel. Who's here with me? Mitch Weissman, such a nice man. He, Mary, and Paul Noel came to a few of his rehearsals. Rest in peace, sir. Well, thanks, Mitch, for that. And Mitch, I'm sure you remember when we did the show live with Corey and the gang. But if you're tuning in right now, we are discussing the passing of Peter Yarrow. Now, here's some more of that interview. Let me add this back here and get to the part where he talks about Puff the Magic Dragon. Check it out.
That for our entire careers, there was a sense of very clear mission. Now, this wasn't the only influence, but it was perhaps the most important moment in terms of our performing. And at the time, there were no rock and roll or folk rock. There was Mahalia Jackson and Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and Peter, Paul, and Mary. And that was about it. And the songs that we sang, the first one that we sang was If I Had a Hammer. And that had been a hit about a year and a half prior to the gathering. And Blowing in the Wind was the first song that was introduced Bob Dylan to the American public. At the time, in the summer, actually, Bob Dylan had come to Woodstock to live with me in my mother's little cabin with Susie Rotolo, his girlfriend. And Susie was a painter, and I was a painter from the High School of Music and Art. And we'd go to Art Students League, and he would write songs, and we'd come home with our paintings, or if we brought something home, and he would have written this, only a pawn in the game, or High Rain's Gonna Fall. And it was a time, you may have heard a song called Bob Dylan's Dream. which very much reflected. They said, by the old wood stove where our hats were hung, our tales were told and our songs were sung, we longed for nothing and were satisfied, laughing and joking about the world outside. And then he says, I wish in vain that we could sit simply in that room once again. $1,000, I think it was then $100, but at the drop of a hat, I'd give it all gladly if our lives could be like that. Well, that very summer in August, we had recorded his song, Blowing in the Wind. At that time, he was virtually unknown. And we sang it at the March on Washington, and the week prior to us singing it, it hit the top of the charts as far as we went, which was number 2. And it was a huge hit, and it was very different because the music that was being played prior to folk music being played was all about, teenage angst and falling in love and stuff, as you would expect, very much like the music of today to a large degree in the pop music world. But in our case, it was a huge shift in the music because this music became part of the politicization of America, part of America's commitment to the civil rights movement and then the anti-war movement, which emerged right out of it, which is the anti-Vietnamese movement. And this work that we were committed to then not only lasted all the time from that era in 1963. We had met in December of 1960. So here, and I was out of college I graduated in 59. So in 63, I was 4 years out of college. I was 24 years old. Mm-hmm. So, Noel, Paul Stuckey, was 6 months older than I, and Mary Travers was about a year older than Noel. So we were all youngsters. And interestingly enough, if you saw Amanda Gorman, who was the poet, yes, who was 22, yeah, the people who were singing on that stage were 2 years older than that. And Bob Dylan was a year and a half younger than me. Uh-huh. And so it was the people who were at the top of the charts at the time were the youth, but it wasn't the entertainment charts. It was the music that was drawing America together in a way that you at your ages would not understand or believe unless you were to take a deep dive into experiencing that time. Now, how could you do that? The best way to do that would be through documentaries, but also through listening to the music.
I want to ask you something too. I have a stupid question that you're going to hate, and I know you're going to hate it.
The answer is it's not.
No, and I know the answer. And I know the answer is that it's not. But I'm gonna,
Peter, you're great.
But I'm going to ask you. Can't you see how it seems like it is? Can't you see how it seems like it's about pot? It blows my mind that it's not about pot.
Listen, I'm going to show you. I used to do this on stage. Why the Star Spangled Banner is about grass. Okay. Oh, say can you see, by the dawn's early light, which is the time at which, see. Oh, say can you see. C refers to cocaine, as it was alleged to refer to cocaine in Puff the Magic Dragon Lives by the Sea, right? They said that was the analysis. Puff the Magic Dragon Lives by the Sea. C refers to cocaine. Oh, say can you see. C refers to cocaine. By the dawn's early light, the time at which junkies are known to shoot up.
Mhm.
What so proudly we hailed at the Twilight's last gleaming, what we reaffirmed the last time we entered the never-nevers of the wicked last time we got high, baby. The Twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes, referring to prison uniforms and the possibility of incarceration, and bright stars, referring to the shields worn by the narcotics squad through the perilous fight, the fight to get it across the border in Mexico. And the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare just gave proof to the night that Francis Scott Key was not only a lush, he was a junkie. Now,
I told you would hate that question.
now, you know, this song, I could take just about any song and analyze it in this way.
I love it.
And I said, Puff the Magic Dragon is not about grass. It's neither here nor there. But at Cornell, when I was in my senior year, when I wrote this with Lenny Lipton, we didn't have any grass. It hadn't come to the East Coast. It was not there in 1959, but it hadn't come to the East Coast. So how could I have done that? No, and the worst thing we did was go on a panty raid.
And I still got a song to sing. Stand together and step together, and we will invoke our own history and remember what we believe in and what is decent and good about each other and about us. And by filling this space with that kind of goodness, we will push away all the tension and noise to animosity. And therein is our power. And we still got a hammer, and we still got a bell. Together, my friends, we are together.
Right now, if you're tuning in, that is Peter Yarrow. He has passed away at the age of 86 years old. Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary. I am Stefan. That is an interview we did with him a few years back. I just uploaded it and put it in this tribute over here to Peter. Yeah, he had some life, drama, good music, great music, a lot of memories. What's your favorite song from Peter, Paul, and Mary? Post it in the comments down below. Any memory you have of the 60s, I want to hear about it. Please share it in our forum. And right here, Leaving on a Jet Plane was their final U.S. hit for Peter, Paul, and Mary. Top 40 hit in 1969. A year later, as a result of Peter's conviction, the group split to go on to do solo careers. But they got back together in 1972. And in 78, the protest against nuclear energy for a reunion tour. The group got back in 1981. 1981, they got back together. But Mary passed away in 2009 of complications from chemo while being treated for leukemia. And it's very sad. But we got the opportunity to talk with Peter, and it was a pleasure to talk with him and my former co-host. It was a funny conversation. Let me see who's in the chat really quick. I hope I didn't miss anybody here. Mark says, rock and peace, Peter. Thank you for your comments. Uncle Jeff, Peter, Paul, and Mary, the best there was, right, Steph? They were great, Uncle Jeff. I want to make sure we got everything here. Absolute Treasures, Mitch Weissman, our favorite Beatle from Beatlemania. Agreed, Mark, as was Pete Seeger. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, Mark had a crush on Mary. She was very pretty. So that is the story here. That is breaking news. Little mishaps in our live over here, but we got the right age for anybody tuning in. We'll correct the thumbnail. Peter Yarrow has passed away at the age of 86 years old. If you're tuning in, make sure you post your comments. Make sure you check out our playlist, and make sure you click either here or here for our next episode. We have a lot of great stuff coming up on the show this week. Also, I'll interview with the karate teacher, the man who stole the king of rock and roll's wife, some say. Karate icon, the master, Mike Stone. He had a relationship with Priscilla Presley. We got to interview him, and check that interview out because tomorrow is the King of Rock and Roll's birthday. He turns 90 years old, Elvis Presley. So at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are releasing 3 clips. One was yesterday, one today, and tomorrow is a great clip about when Mike Stone got on the phone with Elvis and Elvis threatened him. See that in one. If you want to catch our episodes unedited, join our members only club, join us on Patreon, support the channel. And if you don't, just hit that subscribe button. You're still supporting it that way, and hit the notification bell when we come on live so you don't miss any breaking news. All righty. Peter, thank you for the great music you have given us and the memories. Until then, everybody, I am Stefan. You are beautiful. Who loves you, baby? We do. I'll see you all later. Mwah. Who loves you, baby? We do.